I got out of the army on Friday. Like I actually got out of the army where like they give you your DD 214, which is your like your paper that says that you're free after your enlistment. And I spent the night in a hotel. And this is like after I packed up my barracks room, and so I spent the night in the hotel, and then I drove from Tacoma to Missoula, and then I spent the night at my aunt and uncle's house, and then on that Sunday I unpacked my car, and then that Monday I had class, and so I went from like a very conservative environment that was kind of like the opposite of Missoula, and to a very liberal environment, which was what I thought living in Washington would be like, but it's not when you're on the installation. And so that transition, it was really kind of hard because I went from like an environment where if I was late, if I looked at somebody the wrong way, if I forgot something on my uniform, I get yelled at or like screamed at, to like being at the university where I was late like my first couple days of classes because I didn't want to go check to see if anybody was in the classroom. I figured when they were ready, they would just open the door. And I didn't realize that the classroom was just ready and you could just go in. And so it was like a way more laxed environment. And so it's just been very hard. I've talked to a bunch of veterans that have like been through the like a similar thing. Like nobody that I've talked to has had a like such short transition from one branch to the other. But I enlisted to go to school. That was the main driving force behind that. And just like from it was I went from one extreme to the other, and everybody that I've talked to that has like been through similar things has done it over the course of years, where they got out, they got a job for a couple of years, realized that they didn't like what they were doing, and so they're like, oh, I'm going to go to school, and I didn't want to do that. My field that I was trained in, I was a intelligence analyst, and I had options for work within my field that I could have pursued, but I didn't particularly like my field, and so I just decided to get out, go to school, and just get in the process. Because I thought that if I like lingered, I would lose some of the like the hard work that I had like cultivated, the work ethic that I had, and I just wanted to like get tossed in the other one. It's been hard because man, I go to the vet's office and I do all that stuff, but that's a very it just feels a like a veteran safe space, which we need, right? But it doesn't actually help the veterans transition into like being like normal working civilians, and so or veterans, right? Because like there's this like idea when you're in the military that once you get out, um, that you're a civilian again, and that's not the truth. You're a veteran, like through and through. I'd never deployed. I never like saw combat or anything, but just the lifestyle that you live, like every instant of my life was like regimented. The first couple of years that I was in, I had nightmares where I was like late to work, and so I would wake up like every 2 hours and like freak out that I was late, realize that I wasn't, and then go back to sleep. And this was like 2 hour cycles for like months or years, and then it's different. And so like to think that like you could just get out and get back in the swing of things, it's not. Because I mean, it takes you like 4 months of basic training to get into that process of becoming a soldier. So you at least need like some way to get back into that. And I'm lucky that I have a good support network in Missoula. My aunt and uncle live here. They have friends. I have other family that live in town. But for the people that aren't there, I had a guy in my visual journalism class last semester who hadn't showed up for like 3 weeks. and we found out that he had committed suicide, like through the semester. And I mean, I'm 24. That's the second veteran that I've known that's committed suicide, like personally. And then it's hard, and the transition is hard, and unless you're like willfully and like forcefully pushing yourself to transition back into um, the like real life, you're not going to do it, because it's too easy to just think that everybody around me is soft and that I don't need to think about the way that I communicate, because that's what it is. I think is like a block in communication, because veterans, they're like, the military teaches you to be very to the point, very brute, um, forceful, and that just doesn't fly in like the real world situation. You have to be polite, you have to be nice, you have to ask please and thank you, and relearning that social etiquette, I think, is like the most important thing. And the vet's office, doing all these like, it's helpful, but it's a tool to help you transition back. It's not to give you a spot where you can go and revert back to your old ways, which is what I think is happening with a lot of people, and why that there are the struggles with that. And if you're not like self-aware, if you're not aware that these things are happening, it's really easy to just feel alienated, and it's just hard. It's harder than you think it would be.